Welcome back to the hands-on Python programming. Today we will try to understand what do you mean by identifiers. You can see identifiers are nothing but these are the names we are given to the variables, functions, classes and modules. So nothing but we have a something we are calling them uh, with some other name, that is nothing but identifiers. So we'll see uh, in detail about the identifiers. Now you can see there are certain rules and regulations for the identifiers. So identifiers must be started with a letters, either capital letters or lowercase letters, and or it can be start with a underscore. Okay, so there are only three possibilities for starting any identifiers or any naming for the variables, function, classes, module, whatever it is. Okay, so always it must and should start with a lower alphabets or upper alphabets or underscore. Then so it may contains starting it have alphabets and underscore, but later it can contains digits and underscores also accepted. And we can have alphabets of starting of alphabets also. Then it cannot start with a digit. Okay, so it must and should see that always your identifier start with a alphabets or underscore, but it should not start with a digit. And the whatever identifiers are there, those should not be any keywords. Because if I see, if for okay, class true, that is boolean, true, false, those are called reserved words. Okay, or keywords which are already stored in the Python IDE, so we should not use them as a identifiers. Then you can see identifiers are case sensitive. Capital AG is one identifier, small ag is another identifier. That means these are the two different identifiers, nothing but these are the two different names the Python is treating. Then there is a no limit in the number of characters, that is the identifier you can use any number of characters. Next, you can see these are the some of the valid identifiers here we have. I already said identifier must and should start with a alphabet or underscore. You can see first one it is started with a lower alphabet, and the second one you can see it was started with a underscore, and the third one also it was started with a lower alphabet, but fourth one you can see it was started with a upper alphabet, and the last one is also started with a lower alphabets. Okay, so that means you can see this was satisfied. The identifier has three things, only three things are allowed: lower, upper alphabets and underscore. You can see in all the valid identifiers only these things are available. Then you can see here starting with the alphabets are okay, underscore is okay, but later it can allow. You can see after M we have a Y, so next to letter whether alphabet underscore is also allowed or digits also allowed in the identifier. You can see here after my we have underscore, it is allowed. Okay, you can see it is here we have a after count we have a numeric, so it is also allowed. So you can see, so can contain letters, you can see can contains letters, digits after the first one. You can see after first one we can have letters, digits and underscore also accepted. Now you can see in between underscore also it is accepted. So these are the some of the valid identifiers we will try to understand here. Next one, you can see some invalid identifiers. Here you can see the first condition itself, it is not satisfying. What is the first condition? Must and should start with the alphabets or underscore, but is starting with a numeric, so it is not a valid identifier. Then you can see my hyphen var. It is not a identifier because hyphens are not allowed. You can clearly see from the rules of identifier, no hyphens are allowed. Only alphabet underscore digits are allowed in the identifier. No hyphen values are allowed. Also, no spaces are allowed within the identifier. Okay, we can see class is a keyword or reserved word in the Python. So we should not use class as a identifier in our Python program. Then we'll see, we will understand with an example. You can see here. So we have a already said this is a identifier. This is the name we given to store allies. So try to understand. Identifiers are nothing but these are the names we are using to store something else. So allies we try to store in something, that something I will be calling as an identifier. Now 95 is a value we try to store in something, that something it is called total underscore score. It is called identifier. You can see it is 1,000 numeric value. This should be stored. To store this one, I will be using a name. It is called identifier. Similarly, 50 is a numeric. I can store this one into some identifier count too. You can see in the third identifier, it can allow underscore. Starting underscore is okay. In between the letters underscore also okay for the identifier. All the capital values are okay, and capital with underscore also okay for the identifier. So these are the different values and strings we are storing in some other name. That name I will be calling as identifier. So if I print them, simply if I print them, when I click on run, you can see, so I'll be able to print. So username, I will be printing username. This is the name where I stored allies. So when I print this one, username allies, total score 95, max users 1000, these are the values it will going to print. Similarly, not only the single names, we can have a function. So this is a calculate underscore sum. This function adds a plus b. So here also we will follow the identifier rules. So it should also follow the identifier rules. So what I'm doing, when I call this function calculate sum, by providing, you can see here, I'm calling this function calculate underscore sum 5 8. When I'm calling this function with a is equal to 5, b is equal to 8, what it will do, it will print the addition. Similarly, I have another function get underscore student underscore info. It is also a name we given for the function. It also a identifier. It is of a function type. Okay, try to understand. It is also identifier, but it is a function type. It also follows the same rules as a variable identifier. Now, in student ID, I will be storing this value. Student ID is also identifier. So it is returning student ID. When I run this one, get student info, it is giving the same ID. So this is how we can understand identifiers. I will be repeating once again. Identifiers are nothing but something we are storing. If some values are strings we want to store in some other thing, that thing I will be calling as a identifier. Thank you.